Number 12 is similar to the last two problems. Nayla's Prius emits 158 grams per mile. So do you know what your car, if you own a car, what miles per gallon do you get? You can look that up on a website called fueleconomy.gov, which I believe I mention a few pages forward. Yes. But 8,700 divided by your car's fuel efficiency gives you the grams per mile. So for my car, 8,700 divided by 27 means that my car emits 322 grams per mile. My car is about twice what Nayla's car emits. 150 to 300, so this is about double Nayla's emissions with a Prius. And every time I teach this lesson, I start to think I really need to go get an electric car. But so far, I am trying to make do with my old gas car that I have, and I just try to drive it as little as possible. These graphs are a little easier to read in this version. Let's take a look. How a number of fuel efficiency parameters have evolved over time. This is a pretty crazy looking graph, a lot going on here. Let's try to deconstruct. Car SUV, truck SUV, pickup, and minivan, or van. The top row is about the grams per mile. So this is exactly what we just got done calculating. The CO2 emissions in grams per mile for all of these vehicles. So a car started out maybe at 650 grams per mile, and that would have been in 1975. And it came down really quick to the 400 range by 1985, and now we're down closer to 300. And again, recall that Tammy's Honda Civic was getting 290 grams per mile. So that's probably even a little lower than what this is showing. And this data cuts off at 2015. So this shows dramatic improvement and then gradual improvement on car emissions. If you drove a pickup, emissions came down, went back up, and then have started coming back down again. But overall, pickups are still a lot higher than cars. They tend to be less fuel efficient. And vans as well. So those are the trends that we're seeing in the grams per mile for these different vehicle categories. And this is, I believe, see my source, greencarcongress.com, EPA trends. I think this is from the Environmental Protection Agency. The next row is fuel economy, miles per gallon. So this is almost the inverse of that. If emissions are coming down, that means fuel efficiency is going up. So that's, again, a good trend. We want fuel efficiency to go up for all of these categories. This kind of bothers me here. We had pickups that got more fuel efficient, and then they started getting less fuel efficient. And now they're getting better again, thank goodness. But this is kind of like, why? Why would we get worse or lose progress over this time? So you can speculate on the reasons why for that. The footprint, this is measuring how big the cars tended to be. And again, these lines are kind of short, probably meaning that we only had data starting in the 2000s. So maybe we weren't gathering that kind of data before then. Now check this out. Trucks are getting heavier. Look how much heavier the trucks are getting. That's a dramatic increase. And the horsepower is also dramatically increasing. So there's a lot to see in these graphs. I think here, these are car SUV, here in the 80s there was a fuel shortage, and that makes me think that as a result of that they tried to make the cars a lot lighter. And then they kind of came back to normal. So cars aren't necessarily a lot heavier than they used to be. But when there were fuel shortages in the 80s, that impacted the kinds of cars that were manufactured. So I have some comments written here, but there's really a lot to observe in that grid. And what I like about it is that we have already looked at some of those quantities, the top two rows, in our calculations.